All right, welcome back. Getting all caught up in the whole Antifa, culture wars, race wars, all this crap that's going on. And sometimes you just get tired of the din of one side all the time. You watch Fox News, blah, 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 one side. You watch MSNBC, CNN, blah, 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 same thing on the other side. Right here on Liquid Lunch, we bring on real people from all sides, and we try to have a thoughtful conversation. And two of our good friends of the show who often join me today to mix it up. Robert Hornak is a veteran Republican consultant, and Josh Kravitz is an attorney and Democratic district leader in New York City. Josh, I gotta ask you first, because you're running for office here in New York City, and I'm a big supporter of yours. I think we always find common ground, but are you really in support of defunding police?
Oh, absolutely. I'm absolutely in favor of defunding the police department. I mean, I would just start with this. First off, we're looking at all these camera footages of the abuse of police officers all over the country. And thank God for the iPhone and the fact that people can record this, because all of these incidents used to be resisting arrest. But now what we see is that there are a lot of bullies out there. There are a lot of people that just push you, like the bully in a schoolyard. And that's what a lot of police departments have become. Also, what you've noticed is what you may notice when you're just walking down the street or doing whatever is that oftentimes there are 3-4 police cars that come up to solve one incident. The police are overfunded, and then you can see in other places like in Ferguson or in other places across the country, the police have military equipment. When we talk about defunding the police, we're not talking about getting rid of laws. What we're talking about is the fact that why do 4 police cars come screaming down the street to deal with one guy who bought a Lucy cigarette? And then that's not what we need. What we need are some mentally ill person who's on the street who's yelling and screaming. Why do we have 4 police officers come wailing down the street and with force, sometimes with military equipment, to deal with these issues that are either mental health issues or community issues that could be better dealt with in other ways? So I'm not saying that the police system should be abolished, unless, of course, it's rotten to the core, which in some precincts or in some cities it is. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of different problems that don't need to be solved with the criminal law and don't need to be solved with policing. And what we do is we just over-police. We put everything in this bucket, and it's a very brutish option.
All right.
Push people.
But hey, Robert, let me put this to you. Last year, most of the riots are going on in sanctuary cities that I could tell.
Right.
And last year, Donald Trump said something very simple. If you're a sanctuary city, then we're going to defund your national law enforcement grants. And the mayors of the sanctuary cities went crazy, saying we need that money, we need those federal grants. So Trump was trying to defund the police for them. Why now are they so against, it seems like they're in coordination with Trump.
Well, whatever Trump says, they'll say the opposite. But look, if you want to see what defunding the police looks like, look at Manhattan last week. We saw a really good idea of what it looks like when you don't have police actively enforcing laws on the streets, when you tie their hands and don't let them go out and arrest people that are breaking the law. This is what we have. What it's going to lead to eventually, of course, is cuts in police departments, cuts in numbers of forces, the number of cops you're going to put on the street, and then, of course, where are they going to focus their efforts? We're going to go back to 30 years ago, where people used to claim that the police ignored black communities and didn't arrest the criminals that were preying on black victims. And then we're going to be screaming racism from the opposite side of this. So they're setting this up to be a total disaster, and they know it. And these type of people on the far left, they prey on this kind of disorganization and anarchy.
Got it. So Josh, Josh, to follow up on that point, Joe Biden, the presidential candidate of your party, is not in favor of defunding the police. So how do we square up the national movement of the Democratic Party where Joe Biden says he's not for defunding it, but then on the local level they want to defund it? Isn't that?
I mean, I think that at the end of the day, it speaks to the health of the Democratic Party. Am I Mr. Joe Biden? You know I'm not. But it speaks to the relative health of the Democratic Party that we can have a diversity of ideas, that when the dear leader, Donald Trump, tells us what to do, that's what we're doing. I mean, remember 4 years ago when Republicans were anti-Russia? Well, now Russia is our best friend. I mean, I could go on. Remember when Republicans were pro-free trade? Well, now they're anti-free trade. Whatever the dear leader wants, he gets. At least in this case, Joe Biden, not my guy, not my candidate. I disagree with him on that. But you know what? At least he has his head in the right place, that if whether it's reform or defunding the police, or in some cases, which is probably too far for me, abolishing certain police departments, there's a range of ideas on how to solve this problem, but everyone understands that there's a problem. Donald Trump and the Republican Party think that there's no problem at all. Let's just keep abusing people of color in America. Let's just put our knees on their necks just because we want to, and then call it resisting arrest. Thank God for body cameras and thank God for iPhones, because this is what's been going on for decades, and people of color have been saying that it's been going on for decades. And no one had any basis to believe them, because a cop could just go into a courtroom and just say they were resisting when they weren't. So now we get to see that cops very often are just bullies.
Rob, I'm not going to change the subject by talking about Russia. Okay? Look, we do have a problem. We have a policing problem.
I wasn't changing the subject about Russia, by the way. What I was talking about was the idea of diversity of opinion. I'm talking about the idea that the Republican Party has no diversity of opinion. Whatever Donald Trump, who is not a mentally sane person, does not. No, that's completely false. Okay,
I don't know how we got from Antifa to Russia, but I don't want to lose track here for a minute because we're having a good conversation.
Right, exactly.
Here's Josh, I think, just said something very poignant. Not even realizing it. He said, "Thank God for body cameras." Okay, but but let's keep in mind that when the mayors start defunding cops, they're going to start defunding things like body cameras, because they need, guns and bullets and regular things for cops, because cops are not going to be out there responding to the homeless, mentally disturbed man. There's going to be some social workers that are dispatched to get him. So the cops are going to be out there spending more time getting into violent crime, drugs in the neighborhoods. So we're going to have to take the lesser resources and put them into more important things like crime fighting, and maybe the most recent additions of body cams will be some of the things that get cut. So sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for, Josh.
I mean, I think I think a body camera probably costs a fraction of the amount that a gun does. And so if we're going to be investing in things, we should be investing in body cameras more than guns. And a lot of police departments across the world, the officers don't actually carry guns. Now, of course, in our country, we have guns all over the place, so they need to, because everyone seems to be armed to the tilt. But in Norway, for example, and even in the UK, they very often don't have guns. And what the thing is that a gun actually escalates the situation. Now you have a deadly weapon as part of a heated situation. So you know what? I think the idea that body cams are going to be the first thing to go when we start defunding police departments is pretty silly. You would start with the guns. You would start with the use of deadly force.
All right.
With the body cameras.
Maybe we should take a look at the root cause of this problem, because we know the left loves to look at root causes. What we have are cities and towns where you have your predominantly black populations that have been run for decades by Democrats and Democratic policies. The Democrats there run those police departments. They're the ones that set the use of force rules. Hey, if you want to politicize this, let's look at the Democrats who run all these jurisdictions and all these precincts where blacks have been abused by police according to Democratic policies. Let's not forget that we've had so many people complain, not just about it's a relatively low number of people that have died, not that anybody ever should, but you look further down, you see people have been abused through other policies. Look at how we put people in jail for low possession of narcotics. And that
I wasn't politicizing anything, but I will say this:
racism by Democrats in charge of these areas.
Racism has no party, right? Does the Democratic Party have a racism problem? Does all of America have a racism problem? Does structural inequality and structural racism in policing and many different other systems exist? Yes. There's no party. There's no party.
Not talking about what President Trump's minions do whenever he says, and let's sit down and have a real conversation about racism.
The question I was answering was in relation to Joe Biden.
Some of these
in relation to Joe Biden, so it was a political question. If you want to talk about racism and structural inequalities in America, we can have that conversation.
All right. Well, that's for another day. We're running out of time here. Josh, just did a quick Google as we end this segment. NYPD issued thermal body cam, $699. Glock 48 Slim 9mm handgun, $489. So
Wow.
the gun is
Interesting.
the gun is actually a fraction of the camera and not the other way around. But
Well, I'd rather have the accountability of the camera than the violence of the gun.
well,
Yes, let's send a copy to
Good
break
luck.
up gang
All right.
violence with body cameras and not guns. Great idea.
I gotta leave it there, guys. Thank you very much, Josh Kravitz, Robert Hornak, and we mixed it up as usual. Thank you both. We'll be back right after
Thanks,
this.
John.